Well, hello again and welcome to our very first Hot Patterns tutorial, something we're probably going to call a sew along a Hot Patterns. And recently we released two new patterns. This is one of them. This is the Classics Nouveau Uptown Downtown knit dress, and we're going to do a tutorial for this because so many people asked us for one. You kept saying to us, well look, I'm really not very confident about using knits, and so we really wanted to show you just how easy this dress is to put together. And I know once I've shown you this and I've shown you some basic principles of working with knits, you're going to be off and running. You'll be making these almost with your eyes closed, I promise you. Now before we start, I need to explain one very simple thing, which is we have the cheapest production values in the world. So Jeremy's doing this, he's holding the camera by hand, so it's going to be a little bit wobbly, for which I apologise, but you will see everything you need to see. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to basically lay it out for you, and I'm going to go through with you a really simple order of work. It's the easiest thing in the world, and like I say, once you know what to do, you're going to find this so simple. Okay, so I've started off by just laying the pieces out, the cut pieces out, because I want you to really see how this all kind of goes together. Because all garments are really just a jigsaw. They're just pieces, you just put them together and that makes the whole thing. I mean, it sounds obvious, but really if you've never done a knit before, this may be one of the things that's freaking you out. So I've laid it all out. We've got front skirt, front bodice, back skirt, then we've got back sleeve, front sleeve, sleeve rib, and here I've got the neck rib, that'll go around here, around that neckline. And this, of course, is the hem rib, and that's just in one piece, so that'll go at the bottom when we're done. So what I'm going to do is quickly show you really how to just put this together. But before we do that, let me just explain one thing. I'm going to be making this on a 4-thread overlocker. You might call it a serger, you might call it an overlocker. But what it does is it basically joins the seams and it cleans the edges of the seams too at the same time. But you don't have to have one of those to be able to make this. You really don't. You can use it with a normal, everyday sewing machine. And what you need to do is do a zigzag stitch. I'm going to show you exactly what I mean right now. This is a normal zigzag. That's how you sew it, okay? Well, you're not going to do that for this. What you're going to do is a narrow zigzag. So it's going to go basically like that. And what happens with this is you've still got the kind of stretch and the give that you need with a knit. So if you're using an ordinary machine, you want your normal stitch length, probably 3, probably right in the middle, and then the narrowest zigzag you can get away with, and you'll have success with this. So the first thing to tell you when you're putting together any kind of garment, but particularly this one, is that you always work in a certain sequence. It's dead easy to do, dead easy to remember. You do your small pieces first, which then attach to your medium pieces, which then attach to your big pieces. It's the easiest and most efficient way to do it, and it stops all that horrible kind of stop-start that makes sewing really irritating if you're not careful. So I'm going to do all my small pieces first, which means I'm going to prepare my ribs, or my rib loops, and I'm going to start joining things together, and you're going to watch while I do it. Aren't you lucky? Okay, so I'm about to start putting the dress together. Now, don't forget, I'm using a 4-thread overlocker. You don't have to do this. You can do it on your narrow zigzag on your standard machine, so don't be intimidated by that. You called that an overlocker. Is that the same as a serger? It is a serger. It's just a different terminology for it, that's all. And really doesn't matter. And you can use 3-thread, 4-thread, 5-thread. It really doesn't matter. As long as your machine will put knits together, you're good, and you can do that by doing a sample and seeing what happens. Now this is all set up for 4 threads, and I've done it for a stretch stitch, so we've got a little bit of give on it, but like I say, the same effect can be got by a narrow zigzag on your normal machine. So what I'm going to do is start with my sleeve ribs, and you'll see I have cunningly marked this with the word sleeve on the inside with it is washable marker. Well, in theory anyway, we've got to hope so. So all we're doing is just putting it together into a loop, and you'll find this happens all the time with ribs. You just got to put them in a loop. Bear in mind also this is noisy, so everyone headphones on. Here we go. So you just do that, and really I like to keep it all chained together and then snip it apart when I'm done, because otherwise I'm stopping and starting. It drives me crazy. That's the sleeve ribs put together, easy peasy. This is the neckline rib, and I have cunningly marked it with the word neck, just because, you know, it's easier than trying to work it out when you're halfway through doing sewing and you're on the machine. So obviously it's right sides together so that your seam is on the inside. And the final loop of rib is the hem. And that's really just got one seam like the other one, so you make one big delicious loop. Now you can see these are all chained together. You're just going to snip them apart, easy peasy. And if you read the instructions, it will tell you when you get to this stage, you've got to press these all open or press the seams to one side. And I'm going to show you how to do the pressing in a moment because that's really, really important. And then we'll get on to joining the rest of the dress. Okay, so now I'm going to press the rib trim that I've joined into loops. And you can see here it's just a loopy loop. And this is all you do. Trusty iron. Press the seam to one side. Like that. Obviously, if you are sewing it on the normal machine and you've done your narrow zigzag, you'll press the seams open. But for this one, we're just going to press it to one side. Doesn't matter which side, we honestly don't mind. And when this is done, what you're going to end up with, if you turn your loop the correct way, this is one of the sleeve loops, by the way, just fold it in half this way. And that's ready to go on the sleeve. And you'll get this nice finished edge here, and this will be the edge that joins onto the garment. So now I'm going to do the same with this. I'm going to press the seams on all my knit rib loops, just so they're all ready to go onto the garment. Okay, so now I'm going to put together one of the sleeves. And these are really easy to do. You just do them on the overarm seam like this. However, I must tell you that I always do it sewing from the top to the bottom. I do the same thing with the side seams, top to bottom, and that is because gravity will always win. I don't like to fight gravity, so it's always going to go downwards like this. So I really recommend you consider that, especially when you're sewing knits, top to bottom. It's much, much easier. It can make your life a lot easier. So straight through with this one, easy peasy. And let me show you this shape of your sleeve when you're done. See, it's kind of got that kind of shoulder bit there. That's because you've got that curved overarm seam. So that's your sleeves done. How simple was that? It was ridiculously simple. Now, you're going to take these away and press them. Of course, I'm going to show you that in a moment. And then you'll be joining these to the bodice, and you'll end up with an entire bodice very, very quickly. Okay, so now I've just roughly pinned together the front and the back through the sleeves here. You can see that. Because the thing with the raglan style, which this has got, is part of the sleeve is actually part of the bodice. It kind of goes up into the shoulder like this. So I've roughly put it together like this, just pinned it, and I'm going to join those together. Now, I would tell you that if I did this in industry with pins, I'd be laughed out of the place. But of course, as home sewers, we can take whatever steps we like to make it just right for us, which is, you know, one of the fun things. So I'm going to join these sleeves onto the bodice, and then we are going to put on the neckband. Oh yes, we are. So watch again. I'm going, as always, from the top down to the bottom. You really don't have to ease this at all because it's a knit. It'll kind of go where it wants to go, and it'll fit perfectly. But just relax into it. Don't get stressy. It's just a garment. And of course, try not to sew over the pins, especially with a serger or overlocker. You will know sorrow. That's all I'm saying. Oh, and the other thing to tell you is, if you're sewing on a straight stitch machine, you're doing your narrow zigzag, always make sure you use a jersey or a ballpoint needle. That's really key. It goes through the knit of the fabric so much easier. You can use a normal one, but you're going to have absolute trouble. So give yourself a break. Make it easy. Use the right stuff for the right job. Okay, I'm going to continue and do this, and then when you come back and see it, it'll be neckband time.